In this video, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my approach to teaching. I know that my methods are probably a little bit different than some of the other instructors you have, and I just want to make sure that we are on the same page as we move into this. Uh, I'm going to give you just a few points about me. I do have another video that has a little bit more detail, but to help you understand where I'm coming from. I am not an academic. I'm a practitioner. I do have a PhD in finance, but rather than teaching in a university setting for decades, I've spent the last couple of decades working in industry. So I view my goal for you is that I am here to prepare you as much as possible to be strong contributors when you enter the real world. That is not to say that I don't find value in you understanding academic concepts. I just understand that you need to understand them in a way where you can apply them in the real world. And that's my focus. My teaching methods reflect this. Now, former students have told me that it takes a bit of getting used to my methods, but that for the vast majority of them, they have said time and again that they think that my approach helps them to learn more than they do in most classes, and that they feel like it really does give them the sense that they are getting ready for the real world. And so hopefully you'll feel the same way. So let's talk about that. First of all, why do I not just use a traditional approach? Well, I have a few issues with the traditional approach to teaching, particularly in an academic setting. Number one, I don't think that it connects what you're learning in the class to what you'll need to be able to do or know in the real world, and more specifically, how you're going to need to apply it in the real world. I have worked in industry. I have been hiring and firing folks. I've been responsible for teams of folks on projects that were very high value projects, billions of dollars of projects. And I can tell you that my experience is that students coming from very good business programs simply did not leave the business courses prepared to actually do the things they would need to do to be contributors. In fact, what I felt like is that they did not adequately prepare students to be contributors in a business. Rather, they still think they're students, and let me help you understand my view of that. A student, harken back kind of to high school days. In high school, as a student, your job was to show up to class, and the teacher's job was to spout information at you, and then your job was to regurgitate whatever it was that needed to be regurgitated in order to get the grade in the class, and that was your relationship. And it did not speak to what value you were getting or how you might use it or whatever else. You're just a rat in a maze doing what you're supposed to do. And in the real world, your job will be to make valuable contributions and insights to a business. And so I wanted to, I don't feel like most classes connect what you're doing to how that's going to allow you to be a contributor. And so I don't like that, and I want to overcome that. I feel like that the traditional approach, because it is more of a you just show up and I will make sure that I point out to you everything that you need. I don't think it teaches you to be resourceful and learn to teach yourself. And so there's certainly going to be a focus on that with my approach. And then lastly, and I think most students, this is probably the part they relate to the most, it seems that the assessments for the traditional approach often focus more on what you can remember and write down in the space of a class time versus what you understand, what you can do, and what you could demonstrate given as much time as you need. And so for me, that to me lowers the bar of what the teacher expects from you and what you expect of yourself, and how deeply you come to understand the concepts and how to use them. And that's not acceptable to me. I would prefer to focus less on memorization In the days of the internet, you can look up anything almost instantaneously. Um, and so I don't need to hire you because you're great at remembering pi to 26 decimals. I need to hire you because you know the situations where knowing pi to 26 decimals is useful, and you know how to find that value. And so that's really more of how I focus on it. So my solution to this, I kind of boil down to 4 points. First thing is I like to set my classes up so that they are simulating real world business situations. And when as it relates to specific classes, I think you'll get the sense of this. Second, I am a big believer in see one, do one, teach one. See one, do one, teach one is a sort of teaching approach that medical schools use to prepare doctors to be doctors. I figure if it teaches doctors well enough, then it probably will, to do what they need to do in the real world, and it will probably work for what I want you guys to be able to do in the real world. I want this to be a performance. I want the performance to be based on results, not attendance. You'll find that the structure of the class does not focus on that you show up. It focuses on that you make use of all of your resources to give the best performance that you can. And if for you showing up and using the class time makes sense, then that's great. If you don't need that and you need that time for something else in order to perform best, then so be it. And then I use something called a flipped classroom, which again, I think some students find unusual, but hopefully it will work for you and put you in the right mindset. So let's talk about each of those individually. Simulating the real world. My courses are structured to simulate a real world working environment. I will provide you with a general business context. I will explain to you what your role in that business is, what your responsibilities are. I will give you assignments and a deliverable schedule that looks just like what you might expect in a business context. I will point you to access and provide you with, I should say, access to resources and a mentor, which would be me. But you must take the responsibility for using those and doing what you need to do with those, and coming to me as a mentor if you're not sure what you need to do in order to get things done. And you will be assessed on the same basis as if this were your job. What do I mean by that? In a job setting, well, of course, each class will be different, and the context and the position will be different. But in a job setting, there's a level of competency that you demonstrate doing things that will make you eligible for a promotion. And that is a different level of competency than what will keep you in mind for a promotion or maybe just keep your job. And obviously that is different from a level of performance that would cause me to scratch my head and wonder whether you're really cut out for this, and maybe you should be thinking about a different job. And you will see as we go through and I assess you that I basically will not, while I will link those to A's, B's, C's, and D's, your feedback from me will be in the context of whether or not you've achieved the level you should be achieving at this point. Talking about see one, do one, teach one. The key element of any financial analysis is not just that you have numbers, but that you have the ability to explain the financial concepts and issues to your colleagues, your bosses, potential investors, whoever that is. That's what gives them confidence in the numbers. And so this approach is designed to help you develop your ability to explain to them. Explaining to them is, in a sense, teaching them. You don't want to be talking down to them, but you do want to be being descriptive enough in your explanations and have enough examples and so forth that are sort of readily available to you that you've practiced, so that you can rely on those examples to get your points across. So how will I take care of that in this class? C1, I will provide you examples of how to explain concepts that I think you need to know how to explain. And in fact, you'll see that those concepts are captured as learning objectives. And I will let you know in advance what it is that I think you need to know how to be able to explain. So very first thing, you'll know what you need to explain, and I will in fact give you an example of how I would explain that. Second, do one. As part of your assessment, you will be asked to develop written explanations of the concepts, and so you're going to do in the written portion of this your practice on that. And I would say what I think is a good idea is that you might start developing those written explanations and bring them to class so that you can run through those with me and get my feedback on them before they actually become part of your grade. And that way we can kind of help to develop your explanations better and your ability to explain things better. And then teach one. We will have these financial analysis presentations throughout this course or whatever course it is. And as part of those presentations, I will act as one of your colleagues, and I will typically pop up with a question that is in line with one of the concept questions that I've given you, and ask you to explain it to me as you would do for a business colleague in the middle of the presentation. And so you'll get practice not only having written it, but in a real live sort of business presentation scenario, practicing that answer. So I do believe that sort of an approach will help develop a confidence in you that you will be able to explain things. I believe in performance-based results. We have two types of assessments in the class: in-class presentations and take-home quizzes. You'll notice that I don't have any in-class quizzes. Again, this goes back to the conversation about the importance of understanding something versus just memorizing and regurgitating it. In the in-class presentations, I expect you to understand the things that you're presenting well enough that you can handle those live. In terms of the take-home quizzes, those are mainly around the do one portion of these concepts, and I want you to have ample opportunity to develop your best response there. I quite frankly am more interested in that you do something well than that you do it quickly or that you do it with recall. So kind of good news, bad news for you guys in terms of this. The good news is that these assessments are really going to focus on your ability to explain things and do things rather than to memorize things and recall facts. I'm going to be relying a lot more on your ability to understand and less on your ability to memorize. The bad news, because of this, and because I'm giving you ample time and resources to prepare for these assessments, I am going to have higher expectations from you. And so, quite frankly, you need to understand that what may have been a good enough level of explanation or response on a quiz in another class may not be quite as in-depth or intuitive as what I'm hoping for from you. And then we talk about the flipped classroom. So this again is probably one of those things that is the most foreign to a lot of folks. But let me put it to you kind of in a business contract text as opposed to sort of a theoretical educational context. In the business world, you don't attend lectures. Your boss generally doesn't say, here's your assignment now. I have you slated to go to 15 lectures and take notes and do that sort of stuff. There's no money in that for the company. And so you're not going to have lectures in my class either, not lectures in class. Rather, I will give you tasks to complete. Just the business would give you a task to complete. They would give you access to resources and ideally a mentor to help if you have any issues, and then it's your responsibility to make use of all of these and perform, to complete your tasks, to do them well, to have insight, to raise issues, that sort of thing. So I will mimic that. The structure of this class is that I will provide you with assigned tasks, due dates, information and resources required to properly complete the tasks. I will serve as your mentor, and our class time, because it's not going to be used for lecture, will serve as the designated time available for me to mentor you. Now, I say for me to mentor you, I want to say that a little bit differently so you understand the dynamic of this. It is the available time for you to come to me if you need mentoring. All right, so there are no scheduled lectures. I will show up to class and make myself available to help you. It is your job to determine what you're working on, what help you need, and come to class and request that help. And to be fair, I want to set the right expectation with you. Your request for that help has to be similar to the way that you would request that help if you were in a job. So an unacceptable way to request help is to show up to class and basically say, I just don't have any idea what I'm doing or how to get started or anything else, and you just need to tell me how to do everything. Because you have all of these resources, I would expect you to be able to point to the fact that you've looked at those resources and point to specific things that are either confusing to you, incomplete, or something like that. It generally would not be an acceptable thing for you to show up to class and ask me an open-ended question like, can you explain to me what it is that you want me to know for everything? I'm not going to do that. All right? You have a task, your questions, and your assistance needs to be tailored to that. Anyway, I hope that is useful for you. Gives you some sort of a context. I apologize for the length of this, but hopefully we will have a good class and you'll find this beneficial. Thank you.